Hello, this is Miss Yetter, and we are continuing our saga of Hollow City, the second book in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. We are on Chapter 6, Part 2, and we're at the top of page 168 if you'd like to turn in your books and join me. The fallen horses were well behind us when the soldiers ordered us to turn off the main road and down a narrow farm lane. It was hardly more than a footpath, just a few feet wide, so the soldiers who'd been riding alongside us had to park their jeep and walk, one in front and two behind. On either side of us, the fields grew wild, bursting with flowering weeds and humming with late summer insects, a beautiful place to die. After a while, a thatch-roofed shack came into sight at the edge of the fields. That's where they'll do it, I thought. That's where they'll kill us. As we got closer, a door opened and a soldier stepped out of the shack. He was dressed differently than the ones around us. Instead of a helmet, he wore a black-brimmed officer's hat, and instead of a rifle, he carried a holstered revolver. This one was in charge. He stood in the lane as we approached, rocking on his heels and flashing a pearly grin. "We meet at last," he called out. "You've given us quite the go-around, but I knew we'd catch you in the end. Only a matter of time." He had pudgy, boyish features, thin hair that was so blonde it was almost white, and he was full of weird, chipper energy, like an over-caffeinated Cub Scout leader. But all I could think was I looked at him. He had pudgy, boyish features, thin hair that was so blonde it was almost white, and he was full of weird, chipper energy, like an over-caffeinated Cub Scout leader. But all I could think when I looked at him was animal, monster, murderer. Come in," the soldier said, pulling open the shack's door. "Friends of yours are waiting inside." As his soldiers shoved us past him, I caught a glimpse of the name stitched on his shirt. White, like the color. Mr. White. A joke, maybe? Nothing about him seemed genuine. Least of all. We were pushed inside, shouted into a corner. The shack's one room was bare of furniture and crowded with people. Beckheyer and his men sat on the floor with their backs to the walls. They'd been treated badly. They were bruised, bleeding, and slouched in attitudes of defeat. A few were missing, including Beckheyer's boy. Standing guard were two more soldiers that made 6 altogether, including Mr. White and our escorts. Beckheyer caught my eye and nodded gravely. His cheeks were purpled with bruises. "I'm sorry," he mouthed to me. Mr. White saw our exchange and skipped over to Beckheyer. "Aha, you recognize these children?" "No," Beckheyer said, looking down. "No," Mr. White feigned shock. "But you apologize to that one. You must know him unless you make a habit of apologizing to strangers." "They aren't the ones you're looking for," Beckheyer said. "I think they are," said Mr. White. "I think these are the very children we've been looking for. Furthermore, I think they spent last night in your camp. I told you I've never seen them before." Mr. White clutched his tongue like a disapproving schoolmarm. "Gypsy, do you remember what I promised to do if I found out you were lying to me?" He unsheathed a knife from his belt and held it against Beckheyer's cheek. "That's right, I promised to cut your lying tongue out and feed it to my dog, and I always keep my promise." Beckheyer met Mr. White's blank stare and stared back, unflinching. The seconds spun out in unbearable silence. My eyes were fixed on the knife. Finally, Mr. White cracked a smile and stood smartly upright again, breaking the spell. But, he said cheerfully, first things first. He turned to face the soldiers who had escorted us. Which of you has their bird? The soldiers looked at one another. One shook his head, then another. We didn't see it, said the one who'd taken us prisoner at the depot. Mr. White's smile faltered. He knelt down next to Beckheyer. You told me they had the bird with them, he said. Beckheyer shrugged. Birds have wings. They come and go. Mr. White stabbed Beckheyer in the thigh. Just like that, quick and motionless, the blade going in and out. Beckheyer howled in surprise and pain and rolled onto his side, gripping his leg as blood began to flow. Horace fainted and slid to the floor. Olive gasped and covered her eyes. That's twice you've lied to me, Mr. White said, wiping the blade clean on a handkerchief. The rest of us clenched our teeth and held our tongues, but I could see Emma plotting revenge already, clasping her hands together behind her back, getting them nice and warm. Mr. White dropped the bloody handkerchief on the floor, slid the knife back into its sheath, and stood up to face us. He was almost, but not quite, smiling, his eyes wide, unibrow raised in a capital M. Where's your bird? He asked calmly. The nicer he pretended to be, the more it scared the hell out of me. She flew away, Emma said bitterly, just like the man told you. I wish she hadn't said anything. Now I was afraid he'd single her out for torment. Mr. White stepped toward Emma and said, her wing was injured. You were seen with her just yesterday. She couldn't be far from here. He cleared his throat. I'll ask you again. She died, I said. We threw her in a river. Maybe if I were a bigger pain in his butt than Emma, he'd forget she'd even spoken. Mr. White sighed, his right hand gliding across his holstered gun, lingered over the handle of his knife, then came to rest on his belt's brass buckle. He lowered his voice as if what he was about to say were meant for my ears only. I see what the trouble is. You believe there's nothing to be gained by being honest with me, that we will kill you regardless of what you do or say. I need you to know this is not the case. However, in the spirit of total honesty, I will say this. You shouldn't have made us chase you. That was a mistake. This could have been so much easier, but now everyone's angry, you see, because you've wasted so much of our time. He flicked a finger toward a soldier. These men, they'd like very much to hurt you. I, on the other hand, am able to consider things from your point of view. We do seem frightening. I understand that. Our first meeting on board my submarine was regrettably uncivil. What's more, your Embrim have been poisoning you with misinformation about us for generations, so it's only natural that you'd run. In light of all of that, I'm willing to make you what I believe to be a reasonable offer. Show us to the bird right now, and rather than hurting you, we'll send you off to a nice facility where you'll be well looked after, fed every day, each with your own bed, a place no more restrictive than that ridiculous loop you've been hiding in all these years. Mr. White looked at his men and laughed. Can you believe they spent the last, 70 years on a tiny island living the same day over and over? Worse than any prison camp I can think of. It would have been so much easier to cooperate. He shrugged, looked back at us. But venal pride, got the better of you. And to think, all this time we could have been working together toward a common good. Working together, said Emma. You hunted us, sent monsters to kill us. Damn it, I thought. Keep quiet. Mr. White made a sad puppy dog face. Monsters, he said. That hurts? That's me you're talking about, you know. Me and all my men here before we evolved. I'll try not to take your slight personally, though. The adolescent phase is really attractive, whatever the species. He clapped his hands sharply, which made me jump. Now then, down to business. He raked us with a slow, icy stare, as if scanning our ranks for weakness. Which of us would crack first? Which would actually tell him the truth about where Miss Peregrine was? Mr. White zeroed in on Horace. He'd recovered from his faint, but was still on the floor, crouched and shaking. Mr. White took a decisive step toward him. Horace flinched at the click of his boots. Stand up, boy. Horace didn't move. Someone get him. A soldier yanked Horace up roughly by his arm. Horace cowered before Mr. White, his eyes on the floor. What's your name, boy? Horace? Well, Horace, you seem like someone was you seem like someone with abundant common sense, so I'll let you choose. Horace raised his head slightly. Choose? Mr. White unsheathed the knife from his belt and pointed it at the gypsies. Which of these men to kill first? Unless, of course, you'd like to tell me where your emblem is. Then no one has to die. Horace squeezed his eyes shut as if he could simply wish himself away from here. Or, Mr. White said, if you'd rather not choose one of them, I'd be happy to choose one of you. Would you rather do that? No. Then tell me, Mr. White thundered. His lips snarled back to reveal gleaming teeth. Don't tell them anything, Cindergasty, shouted Becaire. And then one of the soldiers kicked him in the stomach, and he groaned and fell quiet. Mr. White reached out and grabbed Horace by the chin, trying to force him to look right into his horrible blank eyes. You'll tell me, won't you? You'll tell me, and I won't hurt you. Yes, Horace said, squeezing his eyes shut, still wishing himself gone, yet still here. Yes, what? Horace drew a shaking breath. Yes, I'll tell you. Don't, shouted Emma. Oh, God, I thought. He's going to give her up. He's too weak. We should have left him at the menagerie. Shh, Mr. White hissed in his ear. Don't listen to them. Now go ahead, son. Tell me where that bird is. She's in the drawer, said Horace. Mr. White, unibrow knit together. The drawer? What drawer? Same one she's always been in, said Horace. He shook Horace by the jaw and shouted, What drawer? Horace started to say something, then closed his mouth, swallowed hard, stiffened his back, then his eyes came open and he looked hard into Mr. White's and said, Your mother's knickers drawer. And he spat right in Mr. White's face. Mr. White slammed Horace in the side of the head with the handle of the knife. Olive screamed and several of us flinched in viscerous pain as Horace dropped to the floor like a sack of potatoes, loose change and train tickets spilling out of his pockets. What's this, Mr. White, bending down to look? I caught them trying to catch a train, said the soldier who'd caught us. Why are you just telling me this now? The soldier faltered. I thought Never mind, Mr. White said. Go intercept it now. Sir? Mr. White glanced at the ticket, then at his watch. The 8:30 to London makes a long stop at Portmagog. If you're quick, it'll be waiting for you there. Search it from front to back, starting with first class. The soldier saluted him and ran outside. Mr. White turned to the other soldiers. Search the rest of them, he said. Let's see if they're carrying anything else of interest. If they resist, shoot them. While 2 soldiers with rifles covered us, a third went from peculiar to peculiar, rooting through our pockets. Most of us had nothing but crumbs and lint, but the soldier found an ivory comb on Brawin. Please, it belonged to my mother, she begged, but he only laughed and said, she might have taught you how to use it, mannish girl. Enoch was carrying a small bag of warm packed grave dirt, which the soldier opened, sniffed, and dropped in disgust. In my pocket, he found my dead cell phone. Emma saw it clatter to the floor and looked at me strangely, wondering why I still had it. Horace lay unmoving on the floor, either knocked out or playing possum. Then it was Emma's turn, but she wasn't having it. When the soldier came toward her, she snarled, "Lay a hand on me and I'll burn it off." "Please hold your fire," he said, broke out laughing. "Sorry, couldn't resist." "I'm not joking," Emma said, and she took her hands out from behind her back. They were glowing red, and even from 3 feet away, I could feel the heat they gave off. The soldier jumped out of her reach. "Hot torch and a temper to match," he said. "I like that in a woman, but burn me, and Clark there'll spackle the wall with your brainy bits." The soldier he'd incited pressed the barrel of his rifle to Emma's head. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, her chest rising and falling fast. Then she lowered her hands and folded them behind her back. She was positively vibrating with anger. So was I. "Careful now," the soldier warned her. "No sudden moves." My fists clenched as I watched him slide his hands up and down her legs, then run his fingers under the neckline of her dress, all with unnecessary slowness and a leering grin. I'd never felt so powerless in all my life, not even when we were trapped in the animal cage. "She doesn't have anything," I shouted. "Leave her alone." I was ignored. "I like this one," the soldier said with Mr. White. "I think we should keep her a while, for science." Mr. White grimaced. "You're a disgusting specimen, Corporal."